So good morning everyone. My name is Shilpa. So I'll be taking few of your essay sessions, right? A little bit introduction about me. So I am by my graduation, I'm a dentist. So I have appeared in UPSC. I've given 3 attempts and cleared in my 3rd attempt and I got into IRS, right? So I've been associated with Law Excellence from past few months, right? So the next few sessions about essay I'll be taking, right? So in the UPSC essay, so if I talk about my experience, so what I have learned from the essay preparation is that there is a proper structure to write down an essay, right? So when I gave my first attempt, I just scored 90 marks out of 250. Right, but then I analyze the essay paper, right, and it's applicable for every exam, even if it is a state exam or UPSC. Any one of you have prepared for UPSC or not? Okay, so essay is more or less same thing only, right? You first need to master the structure of the essay. Content will come later on, right? Even if you see the syllabus here, right? So syllabus says knowledge and awareness. Okay, so here the syllabus itself. So studying the syllabus is first of all very important, right? Most of the expectation of the examiner will come from here, right? From the syllabus, you have to understand what you are being expected when you are writing an essay or a GS answer itself, right? So then knowledge and awareness of variety of subjects, right? So varied amount of topics, from political scenario, from economic scenario, which they've given, from cultural aspect, right? From current affairs, right? So you need to have knowledge. But the second most important thing is your ability to compose a sustained piece of writing. This is very important. We'll discuss as we go further in our lecture that what does this sustained piece of writing mean? Sustained piece of writing means a proper flow in your essay. By flow, I mean is all the paragraphs have to be connected, right? Paragraphs can't be in isolation, right? There has to be, if you are introducing a topic, say you are introducing a topic about women, right? Empowerment. So you have defined what is women empowerment, what does women empowerment stand for, what are the various aspects. Now you have to explain what are the different dimensions when we talk about women empowerment. May it be political empowerment, right? We have more participation of women in the political scenario. Then we can talk about economic scenario. So when we shift from political empowerment to economic empowerment, there should be certain, there should be certain connection, right? So sustained piece of writing in essay means that all the paragraphs should be connected. We'll discuss how this connection will come about. But these two things you have to remember, right? Once you are very well aware how the syllabus is written, what you are expecting, right? This is very important. First, go through the syllabus. What are you being expected of, right? Then after that, start preparing, right? Then these are the various topics, right, around which you are expected to write. Current affairs is a very wide topic, right? So just be prepared with various happenings which are happening in respect of polity or economy or IR. Right, like I was seeing in the last year's paper, there is a direct questions on China, right? That was in current affairs, right? So being upgraded with the current affairs is here very important, because a direct question might come. So it's always the question which is about current affair, it will be factual. So you need to have those facts ready with you, right? Then socio-political issues. So I think you must have gone through the syllabus. Right? Have you gone through the syllabus? Right? So these are the varied topics. And then they have one thing called reflective topics. So reflective topics might be quote based, right? Or your philosophical essays, right? They can ask philosophical essays that, like they have been asking in UPSC also. So this topic also becomes very important, right? Some reflective essay. Right, so I'll just repeat the things. So we are starting with your general essay thing. So first we will observe what has been expected out of you in the paper from the syllabus itself, right? This is the current syllabus only. So first they want that you should have a proper knowledge about the topic. So proper knowledge will come from your whatever content you'll be preparing for your GS itself, right? Whatever newspaper you are reading. So your content will always come from your GS. And we'll discuss what are the other sources from where your essay content can come. We'll discuss later in the lecture, right? Second is your ability to write a sustained piece of writing. When they say sustained piece of writing, it means a proper flow has to be there in your essay. All the paragraphs of the essay, whichever you are writing, they should be connected, right? By connection, I means, if say for example, you are writing about women empowerment, right? After introduction, if you are writing about political empowerment of the women, and you are moving towards economic empowerment, so you have to write a connecting line like this, like we have seen that, you know, these are the areas where political empowerment has taken place, or these are the areas where some political empowerment factors are lacking. Now we'll check in the economic sphere, right? So like this, there has to be a connection between the paragraphs. Always remember that there is a difference. There is a difference between writing an essay and an answer, right? Answer is very technical, right? Technical in the sense you write introduction, right? In the GS answer, you write the body of your answer, right? And then you conclude it, right? It's very technical. But the essay is like you are having a conversation with the examiner. It should be like you are telling some story, right? So you might have read different newspaper articles, right, in the newspaper. So see how the flow is there in those articles, right? It is like it is conversing with the person who is reading that newspaper, right? So it is very different from your answer, right? In answer you have very limited word limit, but here you have proper word limit. You can express yourself, right? But you have to be very careful that you are creating proper connections with your paragraphs, and you are kind of conversing with the person. By conversing, I means like you are telling some story, right? We'll discuss how the story will come about. So always remember this very important difference between your essay and your answer. This has to be in a form of conversation, right? And in a form that you are telling some story, right? Right? So when I talk about essay, there are two things: how to prepare, right? And then how to write. Now, when we talk about how to prepare, the most of your content will come from your current affairs and your GS. Right? Then second source is that for APPSC, I'm not really sure, but for UPSC, just go online and check various websites. You will get toppers answer scripts. Right? So a person who has already written an essay, you can get a good fodder material from that answer copy, like from varied amount of topics, right? Somebody might have written about science and tech, somebody might have written about women empowerment, or from tribal issues or India-China issue, right? Collect good fodder materials from those transcripts, right? So just read what is given in your GS. Most of your content will come from there. Second will come from any toppers answer scripts. I'll also give a few of my essays which I had written, right? You can just go through it to have an idea. Third, there is a website called Better India. You can just write it down. It's a website called Better India. So they usually give mostly the positive news, right? Any occurrence which is happening, any good practice, any best practice, say in health sector, in education sector, right? Any good initiative taken by some state government, right? All these things are covered in this website, right? And the fourth exercise you have to do is from official documents of Andhra Pradesh, collect a list of various initiatives in different sectors which government has taken place, right? Because if, say for example, the essay is about health, they're talking about universal health care, right? So if you quote something which is being done in your state, it creates a good impression, right? Even though the topic might be a very broader topic like universal healthcare, right? It's not talking about universal healthcare in Andhra Pradesh, just a general topic. But if you give an example from your state, because always remember you're giving a state exam, right? Even if you're writing a GS answer, you have to quote something from your state, some statistics from your state, say from any survey, economic survey, if they are releasing it, any socio-economic survey they are releasing it, any facts and figure from any committee is coming about. So keep an eye on this statistics, right? So quoting your state's statistics and initiatives and schemes become more important than whatever is happening at the central government level, right? So these are the 3-4 areas, right? You can collect certain fodder material. You don't need to have very special preparation for the essay. As I said, most of your content will come from here only. If you are clear about your concepts from your GS, right, you can easily write an essay, right? Second, toppers answer scripts, just go back today. Various coaching institutes have released toppers answer scripts, just read through them, right? That should be a kind of book for you instead of buying excuse me, any extra book, right? Just go through those essays because they have been done in a proper format, right? Just go read them and collect important points from that. Make your own notes, right? Third, this website you can go collect different examples, right? Like, so these are the topics, right? So these are the topics. So with respect to every topic, if you find any good examples, right, from the toppers answer script, you can collect from cultural and historical aspect or environmental issues, right? Anybody has written some good example, you can collect that. From socio-economic issue, somebody has written about income inequality or something like that. Just cover those topics from those answer scripts, right? And from the website which I've told, right? So so these are the few areas from which you can prepare for your essay, right? Now the next question comes is how to write an essay. So like I told you, the essay should be in a kind of conversation or a storytelling, right? When I say storytelling, so your essay should start, so once you start your answer, say for example GS answer, so you usually start with a definition, right? You will define that term, whatever is given in the answer. But in essay, give a different start. We call it an anecdote. Anecdote is nothing but a short story kind of thing which can be written at the start of your essay, right? So give it a form of storytelling. Say, I'll give you an example what I mean by anecdote is. So there is an essay called, this essay topic from old UPSC paper, fulfillment of new women. Just one second. Fulfillment of new women in India is a myth. So the question says is that the new woman, first of all, you should know what is a new woman. New woman means, like conventionally, women were supposed to work in the kitchens, not go out. Education used to be less. Now we have a new woman who is empowered at the level of politics, economics. She's going out working in the political sector. She is also there in the social sector. All the social evil with respect to your dowry or your sati, all these have been banned, right? Girl education is becoming more prominent, right? So this is the new woman. So the topic is fulfillment of new woman in India is a myth, that it is not correct. New woman still has not been realized, right? So how to start this essay? You start this essay by writing some interesting anecdote or a story, right? So few years back there was a news in which a girl in city of Chandigarh, she was molested, right? Molested in the sense she was returning from her work. She worked as a DJ in some club, right? She was returning from her work, and some ruling party's leader's son, they chased that girl, right, at night, and chased her for a lot of kilometers, tried to stop her car. She was molested in this way, right? So you can just write this incident, right? You write that, you go, okay, a girl who is working in some sector which was previously seen as a male dominated area, right? So it is a kind of a new woman who is opting for professions which were previously seen as male dominated, right? But on the other hand, you see is that she is still being harassed, right? She's still being molested. So you write this story and then pose some questions at the end, right? Questions like, this incident indicates that the fulfillment of new woman is still a myth. How we are, moving forward towards fulfillment of a new woman in India. Like this, pose these questions, and answer to these questions will be in your essay, right? So this is the difference. So this gives a very nice start to your essay, right? When you're writing some story, and these stories will come from your current affair itself only, right? You can even form a fictional story. Say, for example, the topic is about globalization, right? They're asking something about globalization and impact on the Indian society. So in globalization, you can form some fictional story of a person who is waking up, right? Probably the alarm which is ringing in his phone, the phone is from US, it's from Apple company, and the phone has been imported from US, right? And then when he's waking up, that the tiles of his house, they are imported from Italy. So you try to tell that how globalization is impacting from waking up to whenever he's going to office. He's going to office for a MNC, right? MNC is also a foreign company who has come here, right? Like this, you show the impact of globalization in the day-to-day life, right? So like this, you can form a kind of story, a fictional story by yourself, right? You name that person, that okay, Rakesh, he wakes up in the morning, and then you write this whole story, how he's using a car which is German made, going to office which has its headquarters probably in, say, Canada or something like that, right? And then he, when he goes to the office, he's ordering a coffee which is again, say it is Starbucks, which is again a foreign company. So you slowly show how globalization is impacting from waking up to when he's going office or coming back or sleeping, right? Like this, a fictional story, and then you end that, is this the way how the globalization is impacting even the smallest of activities, right? Let's explore, right? So you give a interesting start to your essay, right? Like this, say for example, something on health has come, right? During COVID period, you might remember there was a news where a person in Orissa, he carried his dead wife's body for a lot of kilometers, right, on his bicycle, right? So if there is something about health sector, they've asked about issues and challenges or something like that. So you can just write down that story, that how that person, carried his dead wife, because there was no provision of ambulance, etc., right? You write down this story, and then you write that, is the dead woman a metaphor for a dead health system in India? Put a question mark, and then let's explore. Am I clear in this? Like, what do I mean by when I'm saying you have to write an anecdote, right? You can, like, there's another way also. Say whatever is being taught in class is only indicative. Everybody has to develop its own style of writing. If you're not comfortable with anecdote, you can simply start with introduction only, right? But writing an interesting start, half your battle is won here. If examiner is very interested, okay, he's written some story, right? You bind the attention of the examiner. That comes with the anecdote, a small story, just one paragraph, right? You don't have to elaborate into one page, just a very small writing, and then just write the questions, post some questions at the end, which you will be addressing later in your essay, right? Am I clear? Right? In the upcoming classes, we'll, like, every day we'll discuss 2 essays, right? First you will write down what do you understand by those topic, and then I'll discuss. It will be kind of a model key for that essay, right? But today I just want to make it clear, like, what kind of structure I am expecting, right? And second thing you must remember is that essay, I can go on here telling you different points about different topics, right? I can give you answer keys of different topics from previous year papers or general topics, but until and unless you sit down and write an essay, right, though you will not understand how to write it, right? If I talk about my experience, in my first attempt I read a lot about essay. I read different answer scripts, right? I collected a lot of material, but never wrote even a single essay. So the result was, from 250 marks I got just 90. But then next year I realized that not just collecting information is important, but actually application of it is important, and you will judge yourself only when you write something, right? If you show somebody's, your teacher or mentor, anybody, right, how you have been writing, right? Or peer evaluation is also good. You just show it to your friends, right? So next time, then my next attempt, then I wrote 4-5 essays, right? Joined some test series, right? So automatically from 90 I got almost 154 in the next attempt and 157, which was kind of a highest score at that time, right? And during that period in my next attempts, I also understood that structure in an essay is very important. Information, see, everybody has. If the topic is about health system, education system, or Chinese aggression in India, which is a previous 2020 topic of essay in APPSC only, right? So everybody has the same information. There's nothing new you can write about Chinese aggression, right? There's nothing new, but the difference will come the way you are articulating your content. Like they said, sustained piece of writing. Sustained piece mean a proper flow, a proper connection between paragraphs. Paragraphs shouldn't be isolated. The examiner should feel that he's reading some newspaper article, some story when you are writing your essay, right? That flow has to come in your essay. And I'll give you a few of my essay also. Just go through it. Then you will realize that writing in flow is very important, right? GS answer, you can just even label it that introduction is their body of answer and conclusion or way forward, whatever you are writing. But essay differs, right? There should be a proper flow in that, right? So first point is you write down, you start your essay with an anecdote or a small story which is relevant to the theme of the essay. You cannot write any story, right, which is relevant to the topic, right? Next is your introduction. After you have written your anecdote, next comes your introduction. Introduction is explaining the basic theme. Right? Say again, taking the example of women empowerment. Right? So in introduction, you will discuss what is the meaning of women empowerment, right? Introduction is mainly concerned with the meaning of the theme, right? If the essay is with respect to your IR, right? Again, taking the example of Chinese aggression. So in the introduction, you will just discuss China as a country, right? Or your rise of China. Right? Like this, you will discuss these basic theme, right? Introducing the term, right? If it is about health or education, you just define what is the meaning of health, what WHO says about health, right? And like this, just when you're making your notes, again coming back to your notes, collect some specific definitions, right? Or and your best practices and examples from your own state, right? So this definition thing will come in your introduction, right? You define what is health, you define what is women empowerment, whatever is the issue. If the question is about environmental impact assessment, this has been asked in 2020 exam, right? So you define what is an environmental impact assessment, right? So introduction will be around the meaning of the major theme of your essay, right? After you have written a story, posed some question and written like, okay, let's explore this in the essay, then you introduce the basic theme. And introduction becomes very important when they are asking reflective topics. Reflective topics will be basically some quote based or some philosophical essays, right? So if some quote is given, different people might have different interpretation of some quote, right? So you have to explain this very nicely in your introduction, how that reflective topic, how you have comprehended it, how do you understand it. And that way your introduction becomes very important here, right? Am I clear? Any confusion? Right? Have you previously tried writing any essay or gone through the previous year paper? Have you gone through the previous year papers? See, make one point very clear. Previous year questions are very, very important. These are your best friend in your preparation. If you are not aware the type of questions which are being asked in previously, right, you're not really preparing for the exam, right? Here I'll come and explain something, but if you don't go back and see what kind of questions they are asking, if the the structure which I'm telling, is it becoming applicable there, right? Or what can be the change in structure of the essay if such kind of topic comes. So go through the previous year papers, not only for essay but for GS, right? Try to understand what kind of pattern they are expecting, right? What kind of questions they are asking, right? There might be some topics, try to analyze. There are some topics, always in every exam there are some topics which will get repeated, right? Those are the high yielding topics, those are the favorite topics which will always be asked in every year, right? Analyze them, prepare them more nicely. I'm talking about your GS exam here. Then essay, analyze what kind of questions they are asking. So going through your previous year questions is very important. Before you attempt any coaching institute's test series, first go through these PYQs, right? So I have a friend, she prepared for UPSC and she got a very good rank in top hundreds, right? So what she did she never attended any test series, but what she did for a previous year question for last 10 years, 10-15 years, she solved each and every question, right? And she later on, she told me that, Shilpa, from those answers only I could write half of my paper, because more or less the question language might change but the content remained the same. So it was like writing the same answers again, right? So previous year questions are very important, right? Go through them nicely, analyze them, categorize them, which part is being asked more. I'm sure there will be questions which are asked every year. What are the favorite topics, or questions which have been asked in the previous year? Probably other topics from that subject you can prepare more nicely because it has always been asked, right? So like this, analyze your previous year questions. The very important, before you attempt any kind of question, first attempt these, right? Okay, coming back. So introduction is basically the meaning of the topic, right? Giving a proper introduction, a meaning of the theme, right? Whatever is being asked in your essay topic, right? Then comes these are two important things which will create a first impression on the examiner, right? But your maximum marks from your essay will come from your body of the essay. Right, here is where you'll do the major analysis of the topic, right? Whatever is being asked, the majority of content will be here. Say anecdote is in one paragraph and introduction is in half a page, but the rest of thing will be your this body of your essay, right? When I say body of the essay, you can divide it into two parts. Temporal aspect and your spatial aspect, right? When I say temporal aspect, I mean the historical thing or the historical description. Right, say if the essay topic is on democracy, right? Or say if, like, first we'll discuss about democracy. So democracy, if you think a little deeper, right, where do you think the democracy originated in India? If you talk about very rudimentary form, if we see of democracy, it was even found in your Vedic age also, when we had sabhas and samiti, very basic form of democracy, right? And then in the 6th century BC, if you have read about Buddhism, right, there were republics, right? So some kind of democracy started from there, and then the Britishers came about, then modern democratic institutions came about. So in this aspect of your essay, you dig a little deeper into the historical aspect. You explain to the examiner that this is not just a current issue, right? This has some historical beginnings, right? Same, say for example, some essays about women, right? So you write down some the status of women right from the Vedic age, right? How it was good, and then how it deteriorated towards Vedic age, like after Vedic age the different period came about, Gupta period came about, how specifically in Gupta period the position of women was most bad, right? And then medieval period, again this Parda system, because there was invasion of Muslims, right? All these things you have to write down in a historical aspect, right? Why this is important is you are telling the examiner that you are aware how this topic is related to the history, right? And then if I again take the previous year UPSC, this topic was Chinese aggression in India. So you can just write about China, right? China's previous policy was that they were very less concerned about what is happening in the outside world. There was their policy by their leaders that we have to just look inside, work for ourselves, right? Work towards our economy, work towards our manufacturing. We are not concerned about world affairs, right? That used to be their policy. But starting from your this 2013 onwards, right, there was a change in policy that we want to have more bigger share in your world affairs, right? And that is the point when Chinese aggression started, right? Starting from those Spratly Islands issue to, you know, your Tibet issue, all these things, then string of pearl theory with respect to India, all these things, aggression started from there, right? So you give a certain historical impact, right? Have you read IR as a part of ABPSC? Right? So when you read about China, then you'll read all these things, how the rise of China happened, right? Previously it was just concerned with making its economy better, right? It made its, and always remember that becoming a global superpower, first you have to be an economic superpower, right? China did that very well. Its manufacturing sector, right? It's kind of a manufacturing house of the world, right? Most of the manufacturing is happening in China. Now it has become economically very strong, right? Then it started its, ambitions of being, at the top of the world affairs. Like, so you give a certain historical thing, right? If the topic is Chinese aggression, just let me give you the exact topic in 2020 paper. What was that? So the topic was Chinese aggression in India, a strategic response, right? They've not exactly asked when did it started its policy of aggression or aggressive policy, but you have to give a historical impact. You can not just start writing with the various aspects of Chinese aggression, how it is impacting India. You have to give a little context, right? That will come with your historical thing, right? Like I gave example, if there is a question on women empowerment, you give a certain context with respect to what has been the status of women, right? If some question is about, say, sports, right, they're asking why we do not have much medals in Olympics till now, right? Why as a country, the most, now we are the most populous country where we even surpass China, right? Why don't we have, we are just we just get 5 to 10 medals in Olympics, right? Why we cannot compete with China or something? When you write this essay, you give some anecdote. After that, when you have to write the historical aspect, you write about the culture of sports in India, right? How it started. Even from the your Vedic age or from the ancient India, we have found cave paintings in which they have shown people playing games, right? If we talk about medieval India, right? Medieval India, there was one Delhi Sultanate ruler, Qutbuddin Aibak. He died while playing polo. So all these things tell you about that sports were popular since the start, right? You tell about the culture of sport. Then with coming of the Britishers, cricket became very very popular sports in India. Until now it is a very popular sport. So like this, the culture of sports developed in India. So historical aspect will be giving the genesis or how that thing progressed or how that thing evolved, the main theme of your essay, right? And it will go about for your every essay topic, right? With this, you are telling the examiner that yes, I know how this thing has evolved, right? Otherwise, like if you directly start writing, defining, okay, what is Chinese aggression, you won't have much of the content also, right? Essay is always elaborating the thing, right? It is not a question, a GS question that you have to write what are the reasons for Chinese aggression, explain. Right? Here you can just quickly go about telling what are the reasons, what are the examples of Chinese aggression, but this is an essay, right? Essay, you have to write down some anecdote. You can write about Doklam issue as an anecdote, right? How our soldiers died, right? How China has, started its aggression policy towards India, right? How it is meddling in Nepal's affair, how it has impacted Sri Lanka also, how its loan led to the financial ruin in Sri Lanka, right? So first, for writing essay, you should be very clear with your GS concepts, right? But the form of writing is very different. You have to give it a slow start, right? Slowly build up the essay. You cannot just start writing with the reasons responsible for Chinese aggression. You have to slowly build it. Write a story, introduce the concept, right? Write the historical aspect, how the rise of China occurred, right? And then you dwell into other things, right? Am I clear? Right? Any issue, any problem? Should I repeat anything? Right? And these things which I am telling will become more clear when we'll discuss various topics, right? Okay. So next is in the online class. Anyone, any issue is there? Right. So this is the temporal aspect. Next is your spatial aspect. So if we go back to the syllabus, says paper will be tested. The marks will be according to a well-argued piece of writing. So first point is your essay has to be very balanced. Right? Balanced in the sense, if you are writing, say, about women empowerment or fulfillment of modern new woman is a myth, right? So they are directly asking if new woman has been fulfilled or not, right? So you might write about different problems in the political arena, in the economic arena, how things are going about, right? But well argued pieces when you give the both positive and negative aspects. Right? So essay has to be very balanced. You cannot be totally negative that okay, Chinese aggression is occurring, India is at danger and everything. You have to write down what India is doing, what steps India is taking, right? How it is stopping this aggression, how is the support of other countries with respect to India, right? So all these things means that essay should be very balanced. So you are going to be civil servant, right? You are going to be at the top, serving people. So in the layman's term, if you see what is your function will be, a problem will come to you and you have to give a solution. A very simple term, if we say what is the function of a civil servant, is that problems come to them and then they find solutions to that. Very simple, very basic thing. If we ask any layman person walking down the road also, he'll tell you this: formulating a policy so that they can benefit the people, right? So when you're formulating any policy, you have to make sure that whatever thing you are formulating, right, so it is having, you have analyzed both the positive and the negative things of the point. Like say you are formulating any policy about women, right? You should know what would be the positive implication and what should be the negative implication, right? The same thing they are checking in your essay, that are you able to think both the positive and negative aspects of your essay, right? When they say well argued piece of writing, means both the aspect, both the sides of the coin, positive as well as a negative. So your essay should always, especially in the spatial aspect, we'll discuss what is the spatial aspect, that has to be very balanced, right? You have to write both the positive and the negative parts of the the theme. Say they're talking about health, right? So health, if you're writing about problems, say they have asked about universal health care, right? You have to write about challenges, right? But with after you're done with the challenges, you also write down what are the different initiative India has already taken place or your state has already taken place, right? So you give the both sides of the coin. You can't be very negative or you cannot be very positive about the things, right? If any issue is there will always be negative things and there will always be positive things. So that balance has to be maintained in your essay, right? That unbiased approach as a civil servant which is expected out of you should be shown in your essay, right? Am I clear? So in your spatial aspect, you have to make sure that you are writing both the arguments, right? And this is like coherently and sequentially means that you have to maintain a proper flow. Reading the syllabus and previous year question is very important, right? You might write in a very different structure, right? Just go through this syllabus, then you will realize what they are expecting out of you, right? Okay, coming back. It can be anyway. Sometimes you can even compare two things. Just 1 minute, I'll give you an example. Anecdote, you can actually compare two things. Say for example, woman issue is there, you can give an example about a fictional person, a woman who is very highly educated, they are working as a CEO in a company, and then there is a woman in a village, right, who is not educated, confined to the kitchen, right? Then when you write this anecdote, you can write down that these two situations are very contradictory. So it leaves us with the question that whether new woman has been fulfilled or not, right? So you can write in this form also, right? Like I gave you example of health. I gave that example of a tribal person who carried his dead wife through various kilometers to the hospital, right? So anecdote can be positive or negative, but it should be related to the topic. Right? Relation to the topic is very important, and then you pose questions. When I talk about being balanced, both positive and negative, I'm talking about your body of your essay, specifically in your spatial aspect. We'll discuss one example, one full essay, right after this, then you can appreciate it better. So anecdote can be anything. It can be a positive story, a negative story, but the thing is how you connected with the topic. When that story is done, how you are posing questions, how you are solving those questions in your essay whenever you are writing after the anecdote, right? Clear? So spatial aspect is different dimension, which is commonly known as your pestle approach. Right, this is just one framework with which you can write essay. There can be numerous frameworks when we come about. Pestle approach, you can use it in your GS answer also, right? Pestle approach means examples with respect to political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. Right? So these are the various dimensions through which you have to discuss your main theme of your essay. Say, for example, the question, again I'm coming back to women, or say women only, right? So you have to write about women empowerment, right? So in political part, when you are writing, right, you have to write down how different political empowerment movements have been taken by India. Say 73rd and 74th Amendment, reservation for women have been provided, right? That is a positive thing. What is a negative thing? Even in villages, if this political empowerment or reservation has occurred, sarpanch is still, the powers are being wielded by the husband. The concept of sarpanch pati is there, right? Even as the woman is the sarpanch, people in the villages will accept only her husband as the sarpanch, right? He will be the kind of the sarpanch. Even the woman has been elected. So this problem, have you read about this sarpanch pati thing, right? So this is the problem. So at one side you show that okay, political empowerment has occurred, but on the other side this is lacking, right? And then in the same way, economic, when you're talking about, so now the labor force participation has increased. Like you can give example of different CEOs, like Indra Nui is there, right? Then this sugar cosmetics head is there, right? All these CEOs are coming up. Kiran Majumdar is there. You can give examples in the economic sector how women are rising to the topmost positions, right? But then on the other side of the economics, if we see, there are two concepts. Pink collar jobs, and second is glass ceiling. Not very difficult, just difficult topic, just concentrate here. Pink collar job means that even though women are becoming more participative in the economic spheres, but still they are concentrated in some jobs which are seen as more feminine jobs, like teachers, like receptionist, right? All these jobs are basically seen as taking care of someone. So mostly women will be concentrated in these kind of jobs, right, rather than leadership roles, right? And then when you talk about leadership role, there is a concept called glass ceiling, that there is some invisible roof in the public sector or private sector above which women will not rise. If we see any board members of any company, most of them will be men, because there is an unsaid rule that women will rise up to this level and after this it will be a boys club, right? Mostly men will be the part of major decision making, right? So this is just an example, right? You don't have to go too much deep into these terms. So what I'm saying is, when you're discussing the various concepts, you give both sides of the argument. You give examples from both sides, right? Am I clear? So like this, these different dimensions can be covered, and it is not necessary that always this framework will work for your spatial skills. It will depend upon topic to topic. Sometimes the topic will be very technical, very straightforward, that they, in the last 2020 exam, they were asked about environmental impact assessment, right? That's purely about environment itself. You cannot have a political angle. Probably you can write down about political will, right? Or how economics will hamper, or it will be benefit if proper economic this environmental impact assessment is done, right? So your basic aim in your essay should be discussing as many as dimensions as possible, right? So in your essay, it is not about your depth, right? It is about your breadth. By depth, I mean that it's not that you take up 2 issues, 2 points, and then you write half a page, 2 pages about that thing only. No, you write short points, but about different dimensions, right? If you're writing about women, political empowerment, economic, social, right? How technology has helped women, right? How legal recourse, how different laws have been formed with respect to women, right? All these things have to be covered in your women empowerment. So more points rather than focusing on just 2 and explaining them in detail, right? Essay is all about discussing in a wider range of dimensions, right? Am I clear? Any issue? right? So this is a spatial aspect. We'll just discuss the women issue only in detail. I'll give you one topic, you write it down, like jot down the points, and then I'll discuss the answer key, right? So this is the body of your essay, where your maximum marks lie, right? Now different essays will be there, different frameworks can be there. Say for example, essays on your health, right? They've asked about challenges and prospects, right? So you use this 5A model. You can talk about the accessibility of healthcare, affordability of healthcare, right? Awareness about different scheme. Then absence of manpower. The doctor-patient ratio is still very less as prescribed from WHO. It's very less, right? And then accountability. See, frameworks are very important for each topic. Try to create your own framework so that you don't waste time thinking about topics in your exam, right? You have a set time limit for writing your answer. So if you have certain frameworks, this you can use in your GS also. So if they're asking about challenges and prospects, so along this accessibility, what is the challenge, right? Proper hospitals are not there in village areas, you give examples. Affordability, lot of out of pocket expenditure is occurring, right? You need to have proper statistics and facts for it, right? Then awareness about schemes is not there. Then absence of manpower, like I told you, WHO says 1:1,000 should be there, but India is still lacking. Then accountability thing, these are still like a private sector healthcare is there, but there is lack of any accountability. So like this form different this frameworks. Mostly the PESEL thing will work for different essays, but for some essays it might not work. Say essays about agriculture, right? They are asking what are the challenges or why there is low productivity in India, right? Even though 52% of workforce is there, productivity is still low, right? So if you have to discuss, think along the lines of what are the different inputs used for agriculture. Seeds are used, fertilizers are used, right? Then in the agriculture process, mechanization is required, finance is required, marketing is required. On all these 5 levels, you discuss what are the challenges and how it is impacting the productivity. You cannot just write down one thing, right? You have to discuss along this whole ecosystem, how agriculture is taking place and what are the issues associated with that. So try to form, so here input based, right? Try to form such frameworks whenever you are discussing. If there is an issue about a topic about IR, right, they're asking you about India and some country, right? So you try to think what have been our historical ties, political ties, what are there, economic agreements, defense, soft power, people to people contact. Right? So different dimensions. So your essay should have different dimensions whenever you're discussing anything, right? You cannot, if it is about say India, Bangladesh is there, you cannot just write about the political ties, what are the political ties, or about what is the trade. When I'm saying economic, I mean trade, right? You have to write about different things, right? Even if something with respect to your science and tech, any agreement is there, right? So discussion has to be around varied dimension when you are writing your essay, right? And if you have this framework clear in your head, you can automatically generate points, right? You don't need to sit down and think what should be the next point, because this framework is already in your mind, right? Am I clear? right? Like this, different frameworks can be there, and as we go on discussing in your further lectures, right, when we are discussing various topics, we'll discuss what is the structure which can be used there. Most of the time PESTEL approach can be used, but somewhere if there is anything, you can form different dimensions with respect to that topic that we'll discuss, right? Am I clear? So this is your body of your essay. You have to be balanced. First, there should be proper flow and connection. Third, varied dimension has to be discussed, right? You cannot pick up just 2 points and discuss them. Varied dimension have to be there. Proper analysis have to be there, right? Am I clear? Right? The next part comes is your conclusion part. Like I told you, you'll become a government official, right? You have to be what? Solution oriented. Okay, in your essay you have discussed about challenges, you have discussed about your positive points, but what next? Solutions, right? What should be the way forward, right? This will form your conclusion. Your essay will always end with solutions. That okay, women empowerment or health issues, or say for example Chinese aggression is there, right? What should be the India's next step, right? What should be the solutions, right? Here you can even discuss what are the steps already taken and what do you think some novel ways in which the problem can be curbed, right? So your conclusion should always have solutions or way forward, right? Always, right? Because like I told you, you are as a government official, you are expected to give solutions to the problem, right? And that will be reflected in your conclusion, right? So this will conclude the entire structure, right? You start with some story or anecdote, pose questions, right? Introduce the main theme or the meaning. In your body of your essay, if possible, write the historical aspect or your temporal. Then your spatial aspect will be different frameworks. Most common will be your PESTEL approach, right? Am I clear? Right? And then end with your conclusion. Which will contain the solution to the problem. Right? Clear? Any issue, any problem, online students? Anything you want me to repeat? Right? So this is the basic structure of your essay. Just go back today and just reread it again. Right? We'll discuss one example also of essay. Right? After that, just try to at least write some points with respect to that essay. And today also do an exercise. Just go through the previous year questions. That is very, very important, right? Try to gauge what the examiner is expecting, what kind of language they are using while asking the question, what are their favorite topics. So analyze those questions, right? Okay. So moving forward, we'll do one essay today. Just show you how to edit an essay. We'll do an easy essay only, like we have discussed few points with respect to your women. We'll do that only. Just 1 minute. So this only we'll do. I want you to write down an anecdote. How will you introduce? Some of the points we have already discussed. Empowerment of women, is it a myth or reality? So think for 5-10 minutes a story which can start this essay. how will you introduce it, right? What can be the historical examples? We've discussed most of the points, but I want you to write some few more points, right? Then what can, with respect to your pestle approach, what you can write with respect to this essay, and then conclusion, how will be your conclusion, right? So think for 5-10 minutes, write down short points in your copy, and then we'll discuss. I want to have an interactive class, right? Because I can directly give you the key also, but I want you to brainstorm first, right? So just think for 5-10 minutes. Sorry word limit, whatever is your essay word limit, you just have to write, don't have to write the whole essay, just points with respect to various things. Anecdote, you can just write down small 2-3 lines, like which anecdote you'll be including.